Okay, so this question, we're using the idea of Pythagoras. So we're told that the longest length on the isosceles, which is the hypotenuse here, is equal to the length of the diagonal in the rectangle. So again, it's the hypotenuse of this triangle here. Okay, so the way that we find the hypotenuse on a right-angled triangle, when I know the other two sides, is going to be using Pythagoras, which we've done in a previous unit. So first of all, we need to just find out what is the length of these two sides. So if I'm looking at the triangle first, using Pythagoras, I've got 2x squared plus 2x squared equals the hypotenuse there. Let's call it the hypotenuse squared. And therefore, if I square those brackets, I've got 4x squared plus 4x squared equals the hypotenuse squared, or 8x squared. Okay, so 8x squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. Now I need to square root that to find the hypotenuse, but I'm going to come back to that later because it doesn't look like it's going to give me a nice number. So it might be that it's something I can avoid. So the next one, we know that this height of the rectangle is x, and therefore I could just write in x on this side. So if I'm now looking at this triangle, then I have the two shorter measurements, A and B, and I'm finding the hypotenuse again. So the hypotenuse of this one is going to give you 2x plus 1 squared plus x squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So 2x plus 1 squared is 2x plus 1 times by 2x plus 1. So if I multiply that out, I've got 4x squared plus 1 at the end, and then I've got plus 2x plus 2x, so that's plus 4x. So that would give me, in the end, 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. So don't miss that middle term by just doing 4x squared plus 1. I've also got that other x squared, and that equals the hypotenuse squared. So if I simplify this one, it's 5x squared plus 4x plus 1. And that is equal to the hypotenuse squared. Now, given that this one's equal to the hypotenuse squared and this is equal to the hypotenuse squared, we don't actually need to square root it. We can just say these two things are equal to each other because they're both equal to h squared. So 8x squared is equal to 5x squared plus 4x plus 1. And then that forms a quadratic equation that I'm now going to need to simplify and then solve. So in order to do that one, I need to make it equal to 0. We know the only way to solve a quadratic is to make it equal to 0. So I could take off I'm actually going to take everything to the left-hand side in order to keep the quadratic or the squared term positive. So if I subtract 5x from both sides, 3x squared equals 4x plus 1. And then if I subtract 4x from both sides, 3x squared minus 4x equals the 1. And then if I subtract the 1, 3x squared minus 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. And then that leaves me with a quadratic that I need to solve. So again, just using my GDC, I can do algebra and polynomial tools. It's a quadratic term, and I've got 3x squared minus 4x minus 1, and that gives me two solutions. So either x is equal to minus 0.215 or x is equal to 1.549. Okay, so I've got those two solutions. And again, you could do it a different way. If you prefer, you could graph this. So you've got 3x squared minus 4x minus 1. And then once you've graphed it, you could do your analyzed graph and find the zeros. And again, you'll get those same two solutions. So it doesn't matter which method you prefer to use. So long as you're using one of those methods in the exam, then that's fine. If you're graphing it, just make sure that in the exam you then just show that sketch. So you can just show the sketch, show where those values are, which is even better because it gives to your working out as well. Now, for that question, the actual answer was to find the length of the longest side of the rectangle. Okay, so we've not managed to find the answer yet. We also have two answers, okay, and we need to check whether they both work. So given that x is a length, it's the height of the rectangle, x cannot be minus 0.215 because that's a negative number. We can't have a negative length. So this can't be a value of x. X must be this one here. So in actual fact, there's only one of those which is correct, which is 1.549. So part of this question is to realise that there's only one solution that we can take from that quadratic. But the final question was actually to find the length of the longest side, and the longest side is 2x plus 1, it's this bit here. So I'm now going to have to do 2x plus 1 with that value of x that I've just found. So 2 lots of x, which is 1.549, plus 1, and that gives me a final answer of 4.1 centimetres. So the longest side of the rectangle is 4.1 centimetres, which is the actual answer that we were looking for there. So 4.1 centimetres. Okay.